There's practical everyday management. I'm not interested in that. Leadership is not practical and it's not everyday. Management and leadership are totally different things. You think you're being a leader, but you're probably being a manager. Managers figure out what they want done and get people to do it. Managers try to get people to do what they did yesterday, but a little faster and a little cheaper with a few less defects, right? And it probably has a place, but it's not interesting to me. What's essential, what's not happening is leadership. Leadership is about finding the right people, agreeing on where you want to go, and getting out of the way. Leadership means embracing the failure of your people if it leads to growth. Leadership means not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow, just knowing it's going to take you where you want to go. And that's really hard, particularly for people who have self-identified as small business people because they're afraid of becoming big. For 6 years, I was near bankruptcy. I was getting SpaghettiOs for dinner and window shopping in restaurants, 1 week away from missing payroll. So for a little while, I was keeping score of, am I going to go out of business? Once I was done with, am I going to go out of business? What I've kept score of is, did I help somebody accomplish something they didn't think they could? Did I help somebody see the world as it is instead of the way they were hoping it would be? Am I helping someone grow in a quantum way? Not a little, but a lot. Can I get out of their way enough to give them a platform where they do something I never even expected they could pull off? That's what I'm hooked on. And I can report after 30 years of doing the same thing, you don't get tired of it. One guy who was a friend of mine years ago ran a hotel in Canada. And Eugene had what he called the no list. And it turned out if you came to his hotel and you were a bore, for example, if you went to the Sunday buffet and took too much smoked salmon, he would add your name to the no list. And when you called for a reservation in the future, they would say, I'm sorry, we're full that day. He would fire his customers. He was a jerk to them. And that act allowed him to treat the other customers differently. You were either in or you were out. So one question is, when are you going to fire those customers to take 80% of your time but only give you 20% of the value? Because if you fired them, what could you do with the 80% of the time? Think about how much joy and connection you could bring to the people you kept. And people hear me say that and say, what, are you crazy in this economy? And I'm saying, just because the tide is out doesn't mean there's less water in the ocean. Do remarkable work that people can't live without. If you are just like everyone else but cheaper by this much, we're not going to pick you. If you're just like everybody else but trying harder by this much, we're not going to pick you. So the simple example, which is famous, there were, 20,000 shoe stores in the United States, and then there was Zappos. It wasn't like, I don't know, maybe I should drive downtown and buy shoes, or I'll buy them on Zappos. It wasn't a comparison. There was one, and there were 10,000. And he grew, and he sold his shoe store, for $1 billion, because he wasn't a shoe store, because he was doing something worth crossing the street for. And if you're busy doing what you're told, what you read in some dummy's guide, and what the Chamber of Commerce says is a good idea, and it's not scaling, well, maybe you should do something scarier. Don't wait for the next card to turn over. The recession in the economy is going to stay the way it is. Google and technology is going to stay pretty much the way they are. We are so far from where we were 15 years ago, right? And it's going to keep getting more connected and faster. But don't wait for a quantum leap before you jump in. This is now. In 1805, there were 15 corporations in the United States. Think about that for a minute. This idea that there was a building where people would go to do what they're told faster and cheaper than yesterday and make a profit for all is a brand new idea. Henry Ford figured it out, perfected it, right? But Aetna Insurance is a factory. A mega church is a factory. A political campaign is a factory. There's a foreman. There are people who work for the foreman. There's the CEO who gets to keep all the profits. But it's still a factory. And the factory mindset was great for a really long time because of imperialism, because of technology. There's all these reasons I could explain to you why factories made us rich. And now they don't. And the reason they don't is because of Google. Google lets me find anything at the lowest price. Google lets me find anyone who can do the work I need, even if they don't work for me. Who needs a building anymore? All I need is a laptop. Once the factory is the laptop and anyone with $600 can own it, you no longer have an unfair advantage because you have a plant in town. You no longer have an unfair advantage because your cathedral is bigger than the next guy's cathedral. It doesn't matter anymore. So it starts to fall apart. as you know, there's a McDonald's in California where you pull up to the drive-thru and you order a cheeseburger, and the person you're talking to on the microphone is in South Dakota. It's cheaper for McDonald's to beam your voice to a freelancer in South Dakota to take your order who types it in than it is to hire someone to stand in the McDonald's factory in California. So when we look at that and we say, well, clearly there's a race to the bottom. Who can be cheaper? Who can pollute more and get away with it? You can't win that race, and you don't want to win that race. So what's left is to race to the top. And the race to the top is about being more innovative and generous and artistic and connected and leading. And none of those things have to do with compliance. None of those things have to do with telling people what to do all day. So why do you keep doing it? Well, you see, there are two ways to think about tribes. The Beatles did not invent teenagers. They just showed up to lead them, right? Whereas Nike invented long-distance runners. Before Nike, there wasn't the tribe of long-distance runners. Nike defined the tribe of long-distance runners. They said long-distance runners wear stuff like this, and they do stuff like that. I can't run around chasing people and try to get the folks who don't want to hear this. If there is a tribe, and I hope there is, that are talking about purple cows or leadership or linchpin or whatever it is, it's because they decided they wanted to be in it, and because their worldview is resonating with mine. And I don't need 100 million people to hear it. I'm okay. And if it's half the size, I'm still okay. That decision is what artists do. And I hesitate to call myself an artist, but I think I might be. That Wolfman Jack was an artist. He didn't say, I wonder what teenagers want. He just went on the radio. And the teenagers who wanted to hear Wolfman Jack tuned in, right? That's your opportunity, is to say what you believe and see who follows.